My issue is that the advertising and marketing feels a bit disingenuous and just not fair. What's up guys, it's Sebastian from Ask Sebby Business, and today we're going to look at the Expensify business card. If you're someone that runs a business, whether it's 2 people, 20 people, or 200, you've probably looked for expense tracking software in the past and have maybe stumbled across Expensify. So today we're not looking at their software, which I think is fine. It's something that we actually use and I like, unless they kick me off the platform. It's maybe a bit expensive, but it's fine. Instead, today we're looking at their credit card, which is kind of the opposite of fine. We'll look at the card using 3 different levels, so the base rates and maybe some different options you might have. Number 2 is going to be why it kind of feels like a scam, and number 3 is some corporate options and some auxiliary benefits. Huge favor is to give this a thumbs up, and if you are new here, consider subscribing. On this channel, we talk about businesses and how to maximize the spend that you already do. The Expensify card has no annual fees, no interest fees, and also no late payments. It's pretty good if you compare it to the big banks, but I'd argue that it's table stakes if you compare it to a lot of the fintechs. Beyond that, let's look at the core premise of the card using their words. The best business credit card in town, 4% cash back. Okay, sounds great, sign me up. The main issue, as you'd expect, is that there are catches, and that 4% is more so of an intro bonus for new members rather than a long-term thing. In the middle, I'll dive more into why I hate this and why it feels a bit disingenuous, but let's focus on the rates. So the 4% cashback is only for the first 3 months and only if you spend $250,000 per month. If you can't spend as much, you still can get 2% cashback for the first 3 months if you spend $25,000 per month. And to be fair, that's across all of your Expensify cards. So if you do have a big company and you do spend a ton, then that's fine, but that's not a lot of small businesses. After the first 3 months, the rates drop like a rock. In the long run, for every month that you spend $250,000, you get 2% back. If you spend $25,000, you get 1% back. They don't list this, but my understanding is that if you spend less than $25,000 for that month, then you get 0% back. Maybe I'm crazy, but they feel like pretty hot trash rates. Okay, but what are some alternatives? If you're looking for more corporate cards and some big company stuff, I'll talk more about that towards the end, but let's talk about some small business options. Number 1 is the Chase Ink Unlimited card, which gets you 1.5% cash back with no annual fee. And technically there is a bit more upside if you want to watch that video and how you might want to build out a Chase setup, but it's beyond the scope of this one. I'd argue that this is perfect if you spend less than $250,000 every month. Number 2 is the Capital One Spark Cash Plus card. There is a $150 annual fee, but you're getting 2% back. And obviously you can argue, well, this card has an annual fee, while the Expensify one doesn't. So therefore Expensify is better. But at these numbers, at these very high rates, it's pretty immaterial. So I'd argue that it doesn't matter. To me, the big benefit is that you're never going to be forced or feel incentivized to spend more money in a month just because you want to hit that level. So for example, let's say your business normally spends about $250,000, but for one of the months, it ends up dropping. Let's say down to $240K, meaning that from Expensify, you're only getting 1% back, so about $2,400 in cash back. Instead, for this Capital One card, you're getting $4,800 back for that month. A $2,400 difference, and in that case, I'd argue the $150 annual fee doesn't really play a role. If you spend way over that range and you're never going to be below, then fine, but even then, it's still just $150. I'd rather have more options. On that note, if you do want to learn about any of these cards, we do have links down below. You can also find links on AskSebby.com. Make sure the links and the offers on those links are competitive, but otherwise, it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you guys in advance. Okay, so why do I say this feels like a scam? A big reason is because of the psychology and a lot of their marketing. And let me actually give 2 disclaimers before I get canceled. Number 1 is that I'm a long-term Expensify user and I like their core product. So digging through my emails, I signed up for Expensify in October of 2014, almost 8 years ago, which is a pretty long time. I like their product. I hate how they nickel and dime you in a lot of ways, but it's fine. Number 2 is that I do have a few friends that work at Expensify, unless they end up hating me from this video. Okay, so you like their main product and you have friends that work there. Why are you crap talking their card? It just rubs me the wrong way and feels very disingenuous. So number 1 is the marketing of the card. Pretty much everything we talked about at the beginning, so the 4% cashback part, and it's not that they don't dive into the terms later on, but it shouldn't be in their hero image. I'd probably be comfortable if they said it was a 2% card, but 4% just feels weird. I also don't know how anyone in the right mind can say that it's the best business card in town with a straight face. Number 2 is that they're doing a lot of things that I don't think other financial institutions could get away with. So if Chase or Citi or Capital One pulled the same stunts, then they would get dragged for it. For example, the Chase Ink Unlimited right now has a $900 bonus for spending $6,000 in the first 3 months. That's the intro bonus, and that's how most other issuers operate because that's pretty logical. But now imagine if they marketed the same way as Expensify. Best business card, 15% cash back. Get 15% cash back in the first 3 months as long as you spend $2,000 a month. If you do the math, that's factually true, but it just feels weird. Number 3, they use a lot of psychology triggers to make it seem like they're on your side and it's kind of us against them. Taking a look at this post from their CEO, no gimmicks, no need to ask. Okay, with pretty much any other credit card out there, you don't need to call up Chase and ask them for the cash back. It's more so about redeeming it because you have optionality there and you have ways to get maybe more value. 1% and 2%. This applies to all categories. No tricky fine print. So number 1, for most of the cashback everywhere cards, there's no tricky fine print. That's the nature of the card. Number 2, for the ones that do have categories, it's pretty obvious. But a Chase Inc. preferred card, you earn 3x back on a bunch of categories, but they're laid out. Anything that codes as those categories ends up working. There are no limits to your cash back. We don't simply stop the party when it starts getting good. To be fair, the cards that do have categories do oftentimes have caps, but a lot of them also don't, and for the everywhere cashback ones, they generally don't either. Whether the Chase Inc. Unlimited or the Spark Cash Plus card from Capital One, neither have a cap for it. This happens automatically, no need to apply, nothing to negotiate with a pushy salesperson. Okay, pretty much the same thing with every other card that you can apply for online. I guess in that case, I'm kind of the pushy salesperson, but the benefit of cards is that the rates and the cards speak for themselves. And I get it, with marketing or sales, you generally want to build rapport, you want to be on their side, but it just feels manipulative. Given all of this, what's the bull case, the bull argument for the card, and why you should get it? Number 1, and most obviously, is if you're someone that runs a business that spends more than $250,000 every month anyways, and it's a logical choice. In that case, I think it is fine, but that's not most businesses and especially smaller businesses. If you only spend $25,000 a month, I think there's a boatload of other options that net you more value and just is more worthwhile. Number 2 is if you're someone that really likes Expensify and you're already very integrated into their system and you just don't want any other option. So even if you can get more value elsewhere, maybe it doesn't make sense. So for example, you can save 50% of your monthly bill from Expensify if you spend at least half of your organization's spend on Expensify cards. They also have real-time compliance to make sure that employees aren't trying to get around your system and maybe spend on things that they shouldn't. I've definitely known of a few businesses where especially salespeople, because they have a lot of spend accounts, ended up spending $25,000 going out on parties and doing stuff that they shouldn't have. Basically, they said it was for client meetings and for work, but it was really for birthday parties. And I guess also bottle service, which is pretty expensive. My main issue is that there's a lot of people in the middle who end up getting screwed. So if you are a small business, then we talked about those options, but if you're in the middle, I'd consider Ramp. If you take a look at the products that Ramp offers, they have corporate cards, expense management, bill payment, and also accounting automation. The big draw for all of this is that it's free. So the corporate card has no annual fee and offers you 1.5% cash back. If you have that card, then the expense tracking software is free. To be honest, I kind of wish that Ramp existed a while ago because if it did, I probably would have never used Expensify. I would have just had everything on Ramp. As of right now, at least, I have a lot of invoices from the past, and I just want to make sure that if I do get audited, that everything's still there. As someone that uses a lot of fintech apps on both the personal and business side, I'd easily put Ramp in the #1 spot for UX and UI, so the experience and also the interface. Main takeaway is that if you don't spend a boatload of money every month, then consider the other options. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links down below and also on AskSebby.com. If you made it to this point in the video, then leave a receipt emoji in the comments down below because of Expensify and receipts and stuff, and I'll try to heart the comment and also respond. My question for you is, what's been your experience with the card, or what are your thoughts on the card? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favor, give this a thumbs up, consider subscribing, but otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.